All right, counting this down. Hello and welcome. This is the Fitness Reborn podcast. My name is Sean from Renaissance Fitness Personal Training, where we put movement ahead of workouts. And my guest today is Christopher Wilson. Christopher Wilson comes to us from Critical Bench. He's the vice president of content at Critical Bench. It's an online fitness publishing company. It's been around since 1999. And as I was talking to Chris, after we made contact, I then realized that I had subscribed to the YouTube channel. So apparently I saw something on there at some point that appealed to me. Right. So as serendipity would have it, here we are, however later into that we are, and we are talking now on this podcast. So Chris, thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Sean. Love to get into fitness and health content, regardless of what the topic of conversation is. It's a pretty broad topic.
Yeah, it is a pretty broad topic, and I did mean it to be that way when I was deciding the title of the show, Fitness Reborn. I intentionally made that ambiguous. It's like, well, what does that really mean? Well, it can mean anything you really want. And I do actually, if you've looked over the episodes, I do take an expansive view of what fitness is. So I go into the traditional concepts of it, but I also go into more of the mental health and the hormones and things like that. And all these things I think are just truly exciting and truly fascinating. And I know there's so many people out there that know just so much more than I do and have so much more experience than I do. And so here we are. But okay, so Chris, Critical Bench. Now, I've heard of it. I know something about it, but I imagine there's probably a lot of people, who have not heard about it, despite the, I think, 1 million subscribers that the YouTube channel now has. Yeah. There's probably a lot of people out there that can probably infer from the title what it's about, but they probably want a little bit more to go on. So why don't you talk to us about Critical Bench?
Yeah. The Critical Bench certainly puts a bit of a label on the company to some degree, right? Back when we started, pardon me, in 1999, we were much younger, and I was not affiliated with the company, although I was childhood friends of the owner of the company. And so I knew intimately what he was doing, and this is back in when .coms were a big thing. It was a big deal to start your own .com in 1999.
Right.
And he did this at the tail end of college as part of something that was graded, I believe. It was something he had to do in order to, for a class, create a working website. And he said, well, I know I'll make it about bench press since I really like that. He was a college football player, and that was pretty much his favorite lift, something he spent a great deal of time perfecting and working on. And so he was making personalized bench press programs for people, making them hard copy, spiral bound books that he would, people would buy and he would mail to them. And this is before digital links where you just buy something and it was, you were buying a link to something that you could download. And so, he went with that kind of work approach, I guess, if you will, in the online space, creating hard copy products for people that was very much individual, personalized tailored to what their goals were. And after doing that for a period of years and the company gaining some success, he went all in, stopped working for other businesses and started just working for himself, and started to surround himself and network with other people in the space, in the online fitness and health space. And once he did that, then he saw, wow, there's a lot of opportunity here, and started to break out of that niche of just powerlifting, strength building, bench press, and started going into other areas and attracting a larger audience, and of course more of a female audience as well. As we started we were very kind of men, very, very specific. So when you start to open things up to kind of, a greater demographic, better age range, and now both men and women, it's like, wow, okay, so there's a lot of opportunity here. And that's where we started to see a lot of growth. And that's when I came on board not too long after that, about 10 years ago, as we started to venture down all these other pathways. And it's been a lot of fun. So as VP of content, I've been part of the content here from day one, and now I get to kind of oversee all of the content from start to finish, and the multiple YouTube channels, the podcast, customer support, all products and programming that we're responsible for. So it's really a passion-filled job that I have. Get to show up every day with a lot to do, and it's enjoyable work for the most part.
Oh, that sounds great. Now, one thing that I think it was something you just said earlier on is like, now when it started out, it was focused mainly on men, on lifting weights, powerlifting, bodybuilding, what have you. And then you decided you were going to break free of this niche and then expand your opportunities and your services more broadly, more globally. And I thought that was interesting. And you said that the success of the company really opened up at that point. I thought that was interesting because nowadays, and I can testify to this, nowadays they're telling you, no, dial in the niche. Keep your circle small. Keep it, very localized.
Yeah. And
just answer to that niche. And that's where your success is going to come from. Like 80% of your success is going to come from these small 20% of people that you deal with.
Yes.
But you did the opposite effect. Like you said, no, we're going to bring in more and appeal to more. And that's when things really blew up.
Yeah, I think it's because we kind of did it both ways. I would say for the first 10 years, we did it that way, the very niche way, kind of be an authority on something that's very much a particular audience. And we grew within that niche, probably kind of to the top of that niche. And if you look back to, 2006, 2007, 2008, Critical Bench was probably one of the best online, strength training platforms in terms of email and reaching people and doing well, a multi 6-figure business at that point. And once I feel like Mike was reaching a point of like, wow, I've grown, but I'm kind of stuck. I think he saw, several years in a row where I'm kind of like at the same spot once December comes, I'm not seeing any more growth like I had been. And that's where he started to venture into where it was more about developing more stronger relationships and partnering and networking more and seeing the opportunities there that were presented. And hey, if I do this with this guy, I can kind of go into this area a little bit where I'm still kind of, got the weight training and the strength building, and I still have that element. But now I'm partnered with an injury specialist. I can start to do, feel good products that'll help support the stuff I already have out there. Because when people lift, what happens? People get hurt, people get sore, people get in pain when you use your body. And so how do you navigate through that? So there's opportunity there. So that was really the first kind of branching out from the niche. And then it just spiraled into other things, other categories. And then it was kind of just following the breadcrumbs. Once you hit certain types of success, it's like, how can I repeat that? How can I repeat that success?
Right.
And you've gone through certain enough failures and defeats. There's things to avoid, and then there's things that like I've kind of developing almost like a template of success. So how can I continue to do that? And big companies do that all the time. But when companies decide, hey, you know what, maybe we should just serve breakfast all day, instead of just till 10 o'clock, right? More success, more opportunity. So that's kind of what we did. We started to, instead of just serving breakfast till 10, we decided let's just serve it all day, and let's open up on Sundays too, or whatever. So it was like we just wanted to, really get our name out there more and get reach that larger audience, because we were so heavily masculine. I mean, probably 98% masculine audience back in the day, aside from maybe the 2% of female powerlifters and strength, women that were really into that kind of high level training.
Do you think So things really sound like they opened up a lot when you started appealing more to a feminine or to a female audience.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of like this is just an offhanded question, but in terms of like the female members who are like really into like the real, white knuckling, heavy lifting, powerlifting kind of part of the industry, which is, very, talk about niche. I
Right.
mean, anywhere you go, that's a very small select few of people that are really into that to an elite level. Anyway,
Right.
have you seen that number increase over the years?
No, so what it is we started also becoming a little bit less hardcore, if you will, with the content in terms of really kind of going towards more of the beginner lifter or the
Mm-hmm.
beginner or novice type person, so that our programs were more attractive to that type of audience, that entry level person, and really simplifying our stuff, taking complicated things, complicated programming, and really, I'll say, for lack of a better word, dumbing it down or just simplifying it and making it really usable and easily inserted into your life. And that's that's the template of success that we continue to follow in the early 2010s, when we started coming up with these programs like Unlock Your Hip Flexors was one of our bigger programs early on. We've had an Unlock Your Glutes program. We have a resurgence of an Unlock Your Spine program about to come out. So a lot of these are, like fixing the body in very simple ways
Mm-hmm.
that people can attach to their current regimen very easily in 10 minutes a day, so to speak, and only so many days a week, and start to correct things like posture correction or mobility, stretching, things like that. And to, just move better, feel better, look better, kind of those three things, right? And I think
Right.
we all want to feel good. We all want to look better, right? And we all want to function better and live longer. And so it's really all comes down to problem solution. So we started to really look at the problems in the health and fitness space and how can we easily fix them.
So what were the problems you guys identified? I mean, there's any number of them. I can tell you just by,
Sure.
I can tell you just by having an Instagram account, I can tell you that. But
Right.
what were some of the ones that stood out to you
Well,
guys?
we went after things like sitting too much. We all sit too much in today's technological world. It puts us in bad positions. So our hips hurt. We also develop really bad forward head posture. So
Mm-hmm.
how can we fix that? And then because we're sitting so much, and again, sitting is kind of the enemy in a lot of our stuff. But you sit a lot, you turn your glutes off, or you just
Mm-hmm.
don't know how to fire your glutes. And squats and lunges aren't necessarily glute exercises. And so, how can I really challenge and work my glutes? And so, there's a lot of different things that you can target. And then, a lot of programming that's out there is super intense and super aggressive and intimidating for people. If you look back at a lot of the P90X stuff or the insanity programming and things out there from Beachbody's, good stuff, really good stuff for a certain segment of the population, people who are highly motivated and looking to really go all in. What about this other larger audience of people that just want to do something, move a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more, feel a
Right.
little bit better, and see some results, and not after 3 months be like, dude, I'm exhausted. I don't, can they continue with that? It's like an intense diet plan. How long are you going to follow that? Two
Right.
months, 3 months, get some results, and then what? 6 months later, you're right back where you started because it was not something you could maintain. So our programs and our systems are things that people can insert into their lives and maintain.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, I think that's a very good point that you raised there too. Is like, yeah, the hyper aggressive style of exercise, and it's appealing. I've done it myself too. I've never done P90X or Insanity, but I've done like Navy SEAL boot camp kind of stuff
Sure.
like that too. And you know, being a young man, at least at that time, that certainly appealed to me. Who doesn't want to feel like a warrior or a badass or whatever you want to call it?
Right.
That it kind of speaks to a very primal urge in you. And maybe it does for women too. I can only speak for myself, but you're right. There is a larger portion of the population out there, especially now, so more than ever, especially with the boomers aging like they are, getting into their 70s. They don't really want to, most of them, probably upwards of close to 100 of them, 100% of them don't want to really feel like they just got beaten up the next day from a workout. They just want to feel better. Like, hey, if I can play around with my grandkids or climb up a flight of stairs without losing my breath, I'm good. Yep. So I think that's probably the biggest gold mine you guys hit upon there, is that this field is expanding, and the more user friendly you can make it, the better.
Yeah, we're, as we age, our interests and our goals, our desires change, right? I'm a different person now than I was when I first moved to Florida over 20 years ago, right? In my mid-20s, I loved super aggressive, all in, like how hard can I push myself, barely move tomorrow type workouts. And I'm not saying I avoid those. I still have those here and again, but I'm 47 years old. So the way I approach my workouts is a little bit more thoughtful. I have a certain number of time devoted to warming up and moving my body and mobility exercises, because I can't get away with the stuff that I did over 20 years ago. I'll hurt something. I'll strain something, I'm still capable of doing heavy lifts and doing all of that. I'm just more thoughtful about it because I know my body, and that's just wisdom. You're more rubbery when you're younger. Look at little kids. They fall down like crazy, right? And they're fine.
Right.
If I fell down as much as a little kid, my body would be partially broken, right? So it's by design that way, right? We're designed a certain way when we're younger, and as we get older, we just have to take a little bit more care in how we go about physical activity. But it doesn't mean we're incapable or can't do aggressive and hard things. We absolutely can. It's just knowing your body, knowing your limits, and knowing what it takes to prime yourself and get yourself where you need to be.
Right. And maybe about spacing out the hyper aggressive stuff. Like, if you're into Spartan racing, which I kind of am, doing that, 2-3 times a year, something like that. Something super hard like that. You can just reserve that for the one like super aggressive day of exercise, and that's really plenty. On that note of being over 40, now something I did notice about the YouTube channel, at least in the banner, it said like fitness for over 40. So I'm thinking, like, not only did you expand your field into becoming more injury resistant, ideas of injury resistance, appealing more to women, but also appealing to an older demographic, like we spoke about earlier. And now I'm officially part of this because just yesterday I turned 40.
So happy birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday. Welcome to midlife, So,
That's right.
And I was already interested in working with interested in working with older people, but now I'm officially there. This is even more of a point of interest for me here. So working with older people. Now we all know that what that really means, intuitively, that you have to, like you said, you have to kind of be more thoughtful about what you do. You can't abuse your health. You can't take certain things for granted. So what have you guys, what's your experience in working with older clientele, or appealing to an older clientele? Because I can tell you from my own experience, just appealing to them, just getting them on board with really anything. And it's all individual based. Getting on board with a lot of things, it can be a real struggle because they are fearful a lot of times.
Big time. Well, that audience is only getting bigger and bigger, right? Since people are living a little bit longer, typically, a little bit more, I would say, in touch or more awakened to the need for their health and fitness being a huge player. I don't recall, back in the 80s when I was in my childhood, parents talking about like, hey, we got to, get to the gym, and we got to do this, and we got to do that, and we got to eat better, and we have to do all these things. I think there's been a lot of, growth, certainly in the health and fitness space, being more for the everyday, man and woman, not just for the gym goers. I think there's a lot of people doing their due diligence, at least interested in it at some level, and trying to clean things up, even though society as a whole is like more obese, more heart disease than ever, and all these things. But I would argue also that there's a large bit of the population that really knows that they need to do a little bit more, take a little bit more ownership to combat some of these things that are scary to us with age, like brain disease and heart disease and cancers and all of these things, that there's so much that we can do in our own lifestyle, things to avoid and things to implement. And we can have direct impact on how we feel and how we age, more gracefully, certainly. But that being said, I'm certainly not perfect. I make bad decisions every day, I'm sure, when it comes to what am I drinking? What am I eating? How much did I move today? Just the basics. And I think if people just, we've kind of followed suit with that with, YouTube. Our YouTube channel is a great example of the growth of our company. If you look back at our YouTube channel back when YouTube was just starting out in the 2007, 2008 timeframe, right? That's when our channel started. It was all powerlifting content. It was all like little videos showing like Mike and the guys that he used to train with at events, at meets, powerlifting meets. And it was just little clips of massive guys squatting and deadlifting and bench pressing. And then what you see now is you see a lot of like at-home workouts with body weight or a pair of dumbbells or bands or some kind of simplistic tool that's more mass appeal, certainly appealing to the over 40 audience, to the women, to the guys, not aggressive, very much beginner level, because that audience, as I said, is growing. And people are really looking online for things to do, whether it's people that are still going to the gym or people who are training and working out from home. People are looking for ideas. And so we like to help facilitate that by creating a lot of free content that people can go on our channel and be like, oh, I should try doing that exercise. Coach Ashley told me to do it like this, or Coach Zach does this and he looks great. And so we have a lot of these great content providers and coaches, experts, who are here on a regular basis creating content. And that's what gets people to know who we are as Critical Bench, like us, trust us, and then hopefully dive deeper at some point into one of our many programs. And that, again, we still have people following us that are in their 20s, but I would say it continues to shift a little bit more into that, over 30 and certainly over 40 category as we continue to grow. We make stuff that we like. So as we get older, it's going to be probably more attractive to an older audience.
Right, exactly. When did you start actually making more of this this shift towards like bans and injury prevention?
Yeah, I would say it was about 10 years ago.
About 10 years ago?
I would say in maybe even just slightly under 10 years ago, but I think it was 2014, 2015 when we really started to feel like, wow, we really need, the women seem to be the buyers. They're the movers and the shakers in the health and fitness area. They will tell their husbands what they need to do, right? They will they'll be whispering in their ear like, honey, you need to do this. I saw this, I bought this, you need to do that. We're going to do this together. Right. That type of stuff. It doesn't usually work the other way. So knowing that, we wanted to make, and actually it was a bit by accident with our hip flexors program, because we made this program called Unlock Your Hip Flexors. We thought we were making it for men about 30 is really what we kind of like our target audience. It's mostly sold to women over 40. So we were like, whoa, but it was almost like a stroke of luck where we just felt like, wow, we have all this. We didn't realize that there's a lot of women post-pregnancy, becoming mothers who were experiencing pain through their hips. And for various reasons, they were attracted and drawn to our program for Unlock Your Hip Flexors. And so we just saw this huge surge of of customers in this demographic that we weren't really, used to having. And so then we started to kind of go down that road a bit more.
Yeah. And now, speaking of women in pregnancy, now there's a big emphasis on pelvic floor health.
That's
So,
right.
and I've run into that myself with clients that I've worked with. It's like, clients who are mothers and they struggle with, they've had 3 kids now, and, they struggle with occasional bouts of incontinence,
Yeah.
like just wetting their pants and stuff like that from jumping up, down too much, running too much, what have you now. And so now I'm seeing, just through my own research, because I didn't know very much about this until I was faced with this problem. So, hey, I'm having this problem here. It's just kind of where I'd like to focus a lot of my energy on. It's like, oh boy, okay, time to hit the books here a little bit, because I'm not really, I know the baselines about it, but I don't know too much about it. So I had to do some research. And so in my research here, I'm finding podcasts about pelvic floor, books about pelvic floor, YouTube channels about pelvic floor. Some of them do nothing but pelvic floor stuff. And it's a cottage industry in itself.
Oh, it totally is. It became a really big thing. It was actually a woman that we have a business working relationship with. Her name's Alex Miller. She has a program called Pelvic Floor Strong. And we had her on years ago on our podcast, on the Strong by Design podcast, as a guest. And that particular episode did very well. And the YouTube video for that podcast did really well. It continues to drive an audience to our podcast. And it still sells her product unbelievably well years later. It's like an evergreen episode. Again, it's a topic that's trending and people are interested. And again, women seem to be a little bit more at the forefront of their own health and wellness as they get older. They take this very seriously. And it's almost like they're becoming the family advocate for health and fitness as they get older. And that's a good thing. You need somebody to kind of take hold of that. In my household, my wife and I are both, she has a fitness degree greater than mine, even though I'm the one working in the field. She's a nurse, but I work directly in the field of fitness and health. But it's somebody kind of needs to own that, just like somebody's the one that pays the bills, right? Usually in the household, you need also somebody that's kind of like, hey, honey, for our next trip, our vacation, we're going to do these activities, that gets us out moving. Because ultimately we know if you're moving, generally you're healthier. I don't need research or data to back this up.
No. And companies more and more are offering that as part of like a benefits package too. It's like gym memberships and things like that. Now, out here where I live, and this is, part of a way I realize of getting more and more, tenants and stuff. But a lot of the rentals out here, because we're a student population, a lot of it. The average age of this town I live in is 23 because of the university. Well, it's because of the university.
Yeah.
So they want more and more, and the town also caters to them a lot too. Let's be honest about that.
Sure.
But they want more and more people to sign leases and live in their buildings, stuff like that. So attaching a gym membership is part of like the carrot that they use to get a lot of these young folks in. And so it makes good sense in a physical sort of way, but also makes good business sense in that way. So I guess in a more cynical sort of way.
Right.
But what you said earlier about incorporating more bands into the workout regimens, I think you're right, because I think the older you do get, you tend to gravitate more towards bands than weights. I still use weights, but now I've found I'm focusing more and more on bands. And I've seen people who are trainers like myself and are my age doing a lot of the same things too, like just kind of like working a lot with bands. And we're not talking about like, it's not all women too. We're talking about some pretty big dudes here who are doing a lot of band work and doing a lot of mobility and flexibility work and stuff like that. Yep. And, and sometimes I rarely see them ever even lifting weights. It's just a lot of like heavy bands and things like that.
Yeah. And the bands, they've been around, but they were just, again, it was a powerlifting thing. If you go back years and years and years, bands heavy duty resistance band. I'm not talking resistance tubing. I'm talking heavy bands that, have hundreds of pounds of resistance and are used for, in powerlifting, it's used for, it's supplemental work. You do speed days and it helps with explosive work. It's like using chains and stuff. I mean, these have been around for decades. They just finally kind of exploded as kind of their own way of training that's considered safer, where you could still go super intense, but in a much safer way where, the risk of injury is super low, where the strength gains and strength benefits are still considerably high. And so you have all these different apparatus that have come out in the world, in several years now. And I debated actually Dr. John Jaquish a few years ago. He is X3 ball guy.
Oh yeah,
smart guy, and I like his product. He sent one of his products to us here, and I like it. There's things about it I don't like, but there's things about it I do like. And there's absolutely a way to train with these bands and have great workouts and see great results. But the fact that in his marketing, what he does is he just knocks every other form of resistance training as unnecessary or inadequate in some way. So I'm like, so you're basically saying that body weight, dumbbell, barbell, machine training, all of this is nonsense and unnecessary. And he's, basically saying yes. I'm like, how can you say that with a straight face? I mean, I don't.
Right. Yeah. No, I hear you too, because I've listened to podcast interviews with John Jaquish, and you're right. Absolutely right. He is a hyper intelligent guy, and he's, he clearly has done lots of work, a lot of research, and I don't dislike him. No. And I'm not knocking him, but yeah, he does tend to get a little bit out there when he starts talking up his own stuff and he starts talking down everyone else's stuff, right, where he says like lifting weights is an absolute waste of time.
Correct.
It's like, really? So, you're going to tell me that 5 days a week I'm doing dumbbell curls. I'm just pissing away my time. I'm not making any gains at all. Right. There's no point to it. And I think that's exactly what he would tell me too. Like, but I think a lot of that is marketing.
It is.
We talked about niche earlier. Well, you got to be, I think someone told him, or he felt like, I got to be militant about this, because once I say something like this, everyone's going to come looking directly at me, because you said lifting weights is a waste of time. That's flies right in the face of everything that you hear.
That's right.
And
his whole platform is really is arguing that, look at the results that all of these people are getting, and yet we're still a country, like, let's focus in on the US here, filled with unhealthy, obese people, right? Yet there's fitness everywhere, right? Gyms everywhere, opportunity all over the place, memberships up and down, everybody has a gym membership. Everybody has access to this, that, and the other. And yet everyone's still fat and out of shape. So basically that's what he's saying, is like, he's just knocking the industry as a whole, as right, the answers and solutions that are circulating everyone aren't helping anyone. And I see what he's saying, but I also see it this way. I'm like, it's because people suck at following through and sticking with anything. It's a consistency problem is what it is. There's people every day getting great results in the gym who are sticking to it, right? And really trying, people losing 100 pounds because they're eating better and they're exercising every day and cleaning up their habits in their life. And yet there's still a lot of people struggling because those people suck at following through and they're throwing in the towel too soon. And so it's kind of both. It's a really kind of hard argument to make. Right. But I mean, he does it for the reasons to, bolster sales of his product. Right.
Too. And I think one thing I heard him say, like in his podcast, and that really made me jump back, was like, he said something like, the average body fat percentage of a man in the U.S. is 10%. That's pathetic. I'm like, really?
No, 10% is fantastic.
10%?
It's actually really low.
I hover about 11, 12%. I'm not obese, dude. It's like, he said something like that. You maybe see some little baby abs from that. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah. Dude, I would argue that the average body fat percentage for men is probably double that, by the way. I don't think it's 10% by any means. I bet you it's high teens or 20%. And I hover in the high teens. I am by no means like lean, but I can get leaner when I really focus in on my nutrition. It has nothing to do with my training. It's all food for me, all food related changes. But I'm still considered very healthy for a 47-year-old man. I'm not looking to get on stage. I like to be strong, and eating for me has always been, I've always been a quantity guy. I always eat too much. My appetite is too big for my own, it's like I'm still eating for like my college self, but I'm not as active as my college self. Right.
Right. All right. Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, I think people kind of focus on the wrong thing here too. And interestingly enough, like just today I made a video because I thought a lot of when I'm here, I made a video on strength, very short live video I put on Facebook about strength training. Because I hear a lot of people talk about strength training and talk about getting strong, building strength over 40, right? And the question was, a lot of people on social media saying, can you build muscle after 40? And of course, a lot of people are asking this question to, push their own methods or push their product, right? So they're going to answer it, yes, you can, but you have to do da 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 da. And I didn't counter that, but I answered it with saying, well, there's a difference between building strength and what I think you're talking about, which you're actually, the person who's talking about this, what I think you're getting at is hypertrophy. That's kind of a different thing altogether here. You're not really asking, can you get strong? Can you build muscle? You're asking, can I get big after 40? Is that what you're really after here? That's kind of a different question altogether here too. Yes, you can build strength after 40. We found out you can build muscle in your 90s.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. We found people in their 90s, if put on like a 6-week program, just as a trial program, say, here, these people are in their 90s, see what they can do. They saw remarkable gains. Some people who were bound to a wheelchair were now walking under their own power in their 90s. So, yeah, you can build muscle in your 40s for sure. Can you get big? Are you talking about getting Arnold big in your 40s? You could, but that is an altogether different animal to chase.
That's right.
Yep.
It's a totally different question. You're right. You have to it's way too wide open, right? You have to get more detailed with the question itself to get a truer sense of what the answer is. Yes, you can. It's very hard work, right? Over the age of 40, if you're really looking to pack on muscle, like noticeable, bigger biceps, rounder shoulders, right? Bigger pecs, like all of this stuff. It really comes down to, my God, like not just what you're doing in your training, like, are you eating yourself there? Because we all know it's heavy protein intake in order to really pack it on. You can get away with a lot in your teenage years and 20s, but you'd have to be super meticulous as you get later in life to really see noticeable muscle gains from your training. I mean, you could work out 3 times intensely a week, but if you're eating, 3,000 calories a day and most of that is protein, then maybe you have a shot at packing some muscle on. And then, of course, there's the added, effect of, are you on T? Are you taking anything additional? Are you trying to do it naturally, or are you doing it because you're going to see, a pharmacist and he has you on 700, 800 milliliters of something? So
a pharmacist,
right?
Yeah. I thought I should, just kind of add some clarity in there too. And I don't know how many people are going to see this video too, but I just thought, there's a real big difference between getting big and putting on strength.
Absolutely.
You engage in any kind of strength training, you're going to put on strength.
Yep.
It's just inevitable. I mean, you do it enough, you do it consistently enough.
Yes.
It's going to happen.
The body is an adaptation machine, and that's what's so fun to talk about. If you struggle to do 8 push-ups and you just get it, and the next time you go to do push-ups, there's a good chance that you might still struggle at about the same point. But then the third time you go do it, you're going to get 1 more rep. And then the fourth time you go do it, if this is consistent now with maybe a day in between or day after day, now you're hitting 10 or 12. Then all of a sudden you're probably going to jump. You're going to see a jump after consistency. You're going to see maybe a jump in 2 to 3 or 5, even 5 reps better. And before you know it, you're doing sets of 25 push-ups. This could all happen in a 30-day window. I'm speaking for men here, but that's incredible. And you're not necessarily going to see that in the mirror necessarily, but you will absolutely feel it. And chemically, there's a lot going on in the body.
Right.
Your body is an adaptation machine. You give it a little bit of something, it's going to respond. And typically, if it's movement based or resistance based, it's going to respond positively.
Right. Yeah. So like you said, you might not see it in the mirror too, but then you'll pick up your iron skillet with one hand, whereas before you need 2 hands. That's and right. you just moved it around. You didn't realize what just happened there, but then you stop for a moment and then you do it again. Oh my God.
Yep. Right.
And it's something you took for granted here too. It's like, I couldn't lift this without 2 hands before. Now look at me.
Yep.
It's an awesome kind of feeling.
It really is. It really is awesome. And that's what all trainers or all, strength advocates, coaches, it's what we want for everyone else, is to kind of see and feel that same type of result and have that passion for it. It's like, I never want to look at myself in the mirror and feel like useless from a physical perspective, Right. And then we obviously haven't talked much about all of that impact then on the mind and the fitness of the mind, because when you're moving the body and you're out in nature and you're doing all of these things to make yourself physically stronger, it's a direct connection to how you think and how you your belief systems and what you see yourself as, and the physical and the mental they're like conjoined twins,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And speaking about the mental space too, because the mental part of fitness has really blown up, I think, in the last few years here too, with certain people who are more at the front of that, with about the mental part of physical practice and things like guys like Jocko Willink and things like that. And I listen to his podcast every now and again. I like him. I think he's a wildly smart guy. I like a lot of the stuff he talks about. Mm-hmm. He's a bit more intelligent than some of the other guys I hear out there talking about this stuff, who are just, I don't know. It's just a lot of bravado. Yes. But Jocko is good. And I think the mental part of it, especially with now the social media is such a big part of the fitness space.
Yes.
And so many accounts and so many advertisements for fitness and things like that feature, like we talked about earlier, like really hardcore aggressive workouts. Like we're talking videos that have Dwayne Johnson in it, and you see him doing his thing, and he just looks inhuman in some of these videos here too. Like he's like lifting a truck off the ground with his headphones on. He's sweating up a storm, and you have the voiceover audio saying it's about what you want. No one can want this for you, that kind of stuff here too. So, and I want to kind of contrast that, because Critical Bench, you said earlier, in its inception, it started out kind of similar like that too. Like you guys would have been right up there with that, with those kind of videos too. But then you kind of saw in the course of your evolution, which is, I think, a good thing too, like in the nearly 25 years of the company, the fact that you guys have branched out in multiple areas here and really kind of really grown so much in philosophy and in audience. Yeah. And now I see with some of these other companies that are kind of like starting where you guys were at 25 years ago, and they're kind of like going back to that marker where it's like, we are ultra intense. We are the elite of the elite. Right. I see this a lot of like Bedros Koulian.
Bedros. He's doing these like live events and like almost like Navy SEAL training, weeks and stuff.
Right. Yeah. He's collaborating with so many people here who are all these, elite mindset kind of guys. And, we are making men again, that kind of thing. And, there's something to it, of course. But then again, going back to what you said about Critical Bench, is like, there is so much more to this than just, the masculine bravado part of fitness.
Yeah, I think it's really the audience. I feel like they're getting. It's not like the guy like me. Like
right.
It's not the guy that already takes this stuff seriously, is already super passionate about working out, is already like married for 20 years and has 2 kids and coaches youth baseball and like shows up every day and gets up out of bed and like, takes things seriously, is not a lazy son of a gun. I think
Right.
it's more for the people that are kind of have lost some direction, are at a crossroads maybe in their life, are lacking motivation, are lacking any kind of drive or discipline in their life, and they're really they're searching. They're like, where do I go from here? Like, what's out there for me? I need a community to join. I need to be part of something, right? And that's where I think those are the types of people that latch on to this. And it's good. It's like the Bedros thing, and there's some of these other guys that I've seen out there that do quite a bit of advertising, and there's a need for it, because I think we need men to step up and to be stronger. And I say men just because, again, I'm speaking from personal experience. I'm a man, and I think that's where it's kind of like this. But then I think you need to be careful, because at some point it becomes too ego driven and it's all about me, and, alpha and all this stuff. And I think there's a fine line, right? My wife doesn't want me coming home like freaking like, being some freaking wacko, like, like she likes to know that I'm like a provider and a protector and a leader of the house and stuff like that, but not to the point where like it's becomes a frightening home life or something like that. Like, step up, take charge, be a man, but also still respect other things, and so again, I think it's trying to light a fire under people and to get them to move in life a little bit more, where if you're already moving in life, like, I'll see that ad and I'll be like, oh, that's cool, and I'll just go to I don't need to watch it. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm cool. I already do that stuff. Like, I don't need to get fired up about like living a better life. I'm already living a good life. I'm talking to other people about it, just from a different perspective, and not so not from like I don't need to be Leonidas from 300 to try and get people's attention, right? I can do it in a different way. Yeah. So that's all. We're saying a lot of the same stuff. I just say it in a different way.
Yeah, for sure. And I think you're right. They are kind of appealing to people who have they've lost a way, or they don't know a way.
Right.
And I think they're also, maybe unintentionally, they're kind of tapping into a segment of the population that is pretty deeply disenfranchised or disenchanted. And I think, unintentionally or not, that kind of leads down dark pathways, because, and I'm not knocking them at all. I'm not trying to suggest they're promoting some sort of extremist ideology here too, but and not Bedros, but some of these guys on there. I'm not going to say who, but some of these guys, some of these guys on there, they are really taking it way off the map here and going off the scales with some of the things they say.
Yeah.
Like really, like, I'm like, especially in terms of how it relates to women, how men should relate to women. And well, wait a minute. Like, okay, well, I might have agreed with you on some of that, but some of the things you're here saying, okay, that might impress a 13-year-old boy who don't know any better. It doesn't impress me as a 40-year-old man.
That's right.
But so I think there is a danger that they're kind of running up against that too.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. It's almost like an indoctrination or cult-like following that they're creating for these like teenage to like very early 20 type boys, who maybe are really like just looking for something. It's like, maybe you should just join the military, you know what I mean? Like, literally, like, maybe go to the Army or the Navy or the Air Force, get an education, like, do something good for your country, and you'll get all of those things. You don't need to join
Right.
some like, $3,000, program that you saw on Facebook to get this, to have some direction in life. And then hope, who knows who the people are that are starting these things too, so it's,
Yeah.
I don't know, but it's an interesting conversation for sure. But there seems to be a lot of it over the last several years now that I've come across, as you have.
Right. And I was just like, again, contrasting that over what we spoke about before and whereas where I see a lot of these folks are now. Where, and who knows, maybe 25 years from now, it'll be a different story. They'll come to the same conclusions that you guys at Critical Bench came to. It's like, we can get more by not being so niche driven and applying and broadening our scope here a little bit to get more people on board here, regardless if they're men or women or young or old. And this can benefit everybody in some measure here too. So it was just, I don't know. I mean, I think social media has a lot to do with this too. I just kind of think that there is a kind of a regression of this for a lot of them in some sort of way. And I don't think it's systemic necessarily. I think this is just a few outliers that are kind of like really, really, really sort of extreme.
Yeah. Well, people's social following, social platforms, a lot of these online industries are certainly in the fitness and health arena are really like, that's their bread and butter. That's how they're reaching people primarily. So, I mean, they are heavy with content on there, again, always marketing themselves. A lot of them are it's all about this one person, this one face, this one name, right? Like you said, The Rock or Dwayne Johnson, like it's got a huge social following, right? What happens when Dwayne, God forbid, passes? All his stuff, I mean, it's all about one guy. And that's the danger that we didn't want as a business. We are a business. It's not all about one guy. Certainly the founder of the business is the driver and the mover and the shaker, because we are when it comes to the marketing and the email side of the business, that's what really drives the business. But it's not what's like our products, our programs, the coaches, all of the things that are out there and put out by Critical Bench. It's not all about one person. It's about a team of people. And it's a network of contributors. And so that if somebody goes down, God forbid, or somebody decides to try something different and go into another career, let's say, the business continues because it's not all about them. So we're very content rich, and we like to incorporate and involve different men and women with different backgrounds, and it helps keep us from potentially running into trouble, into a dead end or something where we're kind of stuck with this one face, this one name, and all of a sudden it's like, oof, what happens if that one person is no longer part of our team? What do? We have to rethink everything. We don't want to paint ourselves into a corner.
So what's a average day for you at Critical Bench for you? Like, you're the vice president of content. Talk about broad. That probably has a lot of different kind of nuances involved.
Yeah.
So, and when you're pumping out content at the rate at which you are for a company that is as old as you are, and like, let's be honest, 25 years online is a lifetime versus, some of these people who are come and go so fast.
Yes.
I mean, it's easy enough to build enough of a following with social media. You build enough of a following, you've got your own industry, more or less. But it can be so easily toppled, especially if you're dishonest. Liver King.
Liver King. Yeah.
Yeah, Liver King. If you're dishonest, and then once that leaks, which it did for him, he didn't mean it to, but it did. And down came that house of cards.
Yep.
But 25 years is a real milestone. So what do you guys do in an average? Yeah. What do you do in an average day?
That's right. Well, we're grinders. We pride ourselves on being gritty and grinding. meaning we're not flashes in the pan. We're kind of like a slow roasting, we're in the crock pot, And what we like to do is we're very regimented with our planning. Every year at the end of the year is meetings to come up with, what's the action plan for next year? What does each quarter look like? How much content will we be creating? What are the ideas? And our team gets together and we have days of planning and stuff. And then everybody's in alignment. Everybody's outcomes for the year are based on these goals, these business goals. And so as VP of content, since I kind of oversee a lot of different areas of the business, I would say my routines are, I come in, I kind of try to get a feel for all of the things that are waiting for me. And that could be like right now, we have basically we've rebranded a product called Unlock Your Spine. It released a few years ago, but it was released as a sales letter. So we actually made a video sales letter for it. It's a video, like an infomercial, right, to sell the program. And we rebranded the whole funnel, made some new stuff to add into it, like upsells and downsells, things that go with the front end product. And we're relaunching it, and we have really good feelings about it. It looks really great. The video that sells it looks terrific, and the product itself was already good, but sometimes the marketing just isn't there. So we decided, well, rather than make a new product in Q1 for 2023, let's retool something that we've already made that can be improved upon. And so that was our mission for this. So right now I have some stuff I have to review, thank you pages and content pages, to make sure that those are looking good and ready to go, because we're wrapping this thing up here in the next week. So that's part of my day. Another part, I review all YouTube content before it goes live. So everything comes to me so that I'm able to just kind of pick through it, look through it. You get good and fast at this as we have thousands of videos. I've reviewed a lot of content over the years. So you kind of get good, what to look for and how to kind of speed up that process. I oversee, as I said, customer support. So I'm constantly in touch with all of our agents, people that are supporting our products and help in our help desk. And of course the podcast. Not only do I host the show, I manage the show. So overseeing all of those episodes, making sure they're assigned, making sure all the assets look good before they go live. So these are things that I'm involved with every single day I'm here. And it's content that I really enjoy. Not only am I in some of it, but just to be a part of it behind the scenes and then seeing it kind of go from start to finish. It feels really, really good. And it's enjoyable work.
What's your yardstick you use to measure what is good content, what is not so good content? And I'm asking this because I follow this podcast called Diary of a CEO with Stephen Bartlett. That's the host. He's British. He's a businessman. He's a very young guy. He's 30 years old. He's already made millions.
He's a baby.
He's a baby. Yes, he is. He's a baby. He's a very successful baby.
Yeah.
And a smart one. He's a great interviewer too. I really enjoy his show.
Wow.
And he did this one-off podcast where he was just kind of talking to us, and he was talking about the content of his show. Like, he's been doing it for about 2 years now, and he's saying there have been times where I have done interviews, sat for 2 hours for somebody, and at the end of the day, I said, I'm not uploading that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a crap interview. It was painful to sit through it. This person was not very good to talk to. Yeah, I sacrificed 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back. We talked about it a lot. This person has a ton of followers. He talked about leveraging someone's followers to increase your followers, your audience. This person has tens of millions of followers. I could easily just get so much more if I did go through it just by association with him. Nice. But it's not good. And I'm trusting my gut. And if I feel like if this is crap, then you're going to think it's crap. And my devotion to quality content is more important than getting a couple thousand more followers. So I'm scrapping that. He says he's only done it about maybe 4 times in 2 years or something like that. But he has made that decision where it's just like, no, that's not good. I don't care how long we spent on it. I don't care how much money was thrown at it. I don't care who this person is. I don't feel good about releasing that.
Wow.
So how do you go about making that judgment for yourself?
Yeah, that's really good. It takes a lot of discipline to hold yourself to a certain standard. Of course, for me, I'm kind of like quality control. So there's certain things, elements I'm looking for. And of course, I'm speaking mostly from video perspective, but also, we have things that you can download, PDFs and stuff that I also oversee to find the flaws, to find the mistakes. So, I mean, when it comes to the marketing of things, I'm not as much of an influence. I can maybe have some feedback for that, but in terms of hooks and pitches and the angles that we take in order to sell our stuff, so not so much that I'm looking for. It's really more of like, how does it look? Was it crisp? Is the audio good? All of these different elements. I have scrapped a podcast before that was just pretty much, as you said, unusable. It was just had no real substance to it. It was just a lousy interview I was part of, and I scrapped it. I was hosting. I just was like, it's unusable. And I'm sure there's been a few other times where I could have done it and didn't. I would say you could probably go back and delete about 100 of my first YouTube videos because those were pretty awful.
That doesn't really count, man.
But that doesn't really count.
Everyone's shaky at first.
Everybody's shaky at first, right? That on-screen presence, the awful audio, the tripod, old HD Sony flip cam that I used 10 years ago. I was my own camera operator.
Here. That's where I'm at right now here too. It's like I am constantly, and I apologize to some of my people in my video today. It's like, I know I said I'd have more videos up of workouts. I know you said you guys wanted more of that. I know I've been derelict in that. Yes. Sometimes it's just such a hassle to get anything good.
Yes. It really is. But what you do learn in those moments, and I commend obviously the gentleman you were talking about when he could have published something that was a 2-hour interview because of the person that he was interviewing. And it certainly would have helped in some way, but also might have hurt in some way that you don't even necessarily hard to put your finger on it, but to be your own critic is a good thing, but not at certainly in the beginning, not at the part of you being a perfectionist, because when you're early on in your content creating career, you want to just create, put it out there, get the feedback, see where you need to tweak, see where you need to improve, and then go down that road. And so it's getting the reps, really. It's just about getting the reps. But once you've arrived, then you can decide, now I can be more critical. And if this doesn't pass my own litmus test of quality, I got to trash it. So we have trashed other things before that were content based. And certainly even after the fact, after you've sold something, maybe you realize later on, what the heck? We got to, or we've remade things. We've remade things. Like I said, we've retooled things and remade things and dropped things, after kind of looking at it with new eyes later on.
Right. And I've done that myself with this podcast. My first couple podcasts, if you go back almost a year now to May of last year when I started this, there's a few solo casts. They are horrible. I tried to listen to one, and I sounded so god awful. And it's just me talking 20 minutes or so, and I'm just I feel like I'm rambling, and I'm like, oh no, I'm not listening to this. I'm not going to delete them, but I'm not listening to this.
That's right.
And it has gotten noticeably better. Content's better. I start incorporating guests, so that helps a lot. So it's not just me monotoning into a microphone.
That's right.
So the back and forth dynamic between me and the guests, which I always wanted anyway, that helps out a lot. But just the technical aspects have also gotten so much better over time here too. I just wanted to ask you guys that because I just wanted people to know, if and when they start looking up Critical Bench, they know that they're getting something that has been reviewed very closely here too. Because you're right. There's so much stuff out there that it's okay, I see you doing that. I can see it. I don't really understand what's going on here. What muscle groups are being worked here? What's my benefit from this? What's the purpose of that? How many reps? How many sets? I mean, I see a video of you doing something. That's all.
Right.
right? And if you put a little bit more care and thought into that, I think it's that much more appealing.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you develop a system. You develop. I mean, we can do today in 3 hours of filming with 2 video production specialists in our facility what probably would have taken me by myself, 2 days to make. These guys, we have a system. They're great at directing and working with our coaches and our guests that come to film, and we know what we're after. And it's just developing, having a plan too. Have a plan. If you're a content person listening and you are trying to create some content for your platform, whatever that platform is, you got to batch it in order to have enough content to go around. You can't just make one a day, and post it instantly. Like, you have to have a particular day of the week or a few days of the month where you plan, like, that's my content day. I'm going to prepare and be ready on that day to create a lot of content that can then be made into many pieces of material that can then be uploaded and distributed over a series of weeks or longer. And that's really how you have to go about it. If you want to have any kind of online success long term, you have to batch. And that's what we do. And we've created like buffers for ourselves and our content, 30, 60, sometimes even 90 days. You go back a few years with COVID, we had like a 3-month, 4-month buffer for like our YouTube channels. So we were like in good shape because we had so much stuff sitting there ready to go live.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID, COVID's kind of in the rearview mirror more these days than ever. But how did you guys fare well during COVID? That hit a lot of the fitness industry pretty hard. I mean, I know that gyms closed down, fitness memberships dried up. It was rough, and kind of the online segment of COVID, or the online segment of fitness, really got bigger. Even more so.
Yeah. We saw record numbers in some areas of the business that we still have not hit again. So we were already fully online. So where did people turn to? They went more online. And so we just saw a surge from like April 2020 all the way through the summer. That was like just some obscenely good performances in different areas of the business. And we've certainly maintained in certain things and learned some other ways of doing things. And but no, it really didn't impact us too harshly at all. In fact, it benefited us in some degree. But we're also down here in Florida, where they've also been a bit more proactive with how to handle this this said pandemic. And so I felt by fall of 2020 we were already kind of like COVID was already in our rearview mirror. And now the rest of the country is maybe just catching up.
No, fair enough. So all right. So let's just say theoretically, like, someone listening to this goes and checks out the website Critical Bench. Okay. So let's say hypothetically we're talking about a 7-year-old female looking for, like you said, just baseline health. Maybe in the future she's entertaining maybe something a bit more extreme, like the actual, like, the aesthetics of it and stuff like that. But that's not her driving concern at this point here. So how would she navigate through Critical? Because I've looked at the website there. It's a lot there, a lot of articles, a lot of stuff to read. How would you navigate through that?
Yeah. Well, first I'll say, the original website, which is in the process of a major redesign, overhaul, and needed because it's very dated looking. It does our company a complete disservice, but that's not the way we've really generated business for many years. That's where we started, right, as a .com.
Right.
But once you develop products, you create basically whole new what they call verticals, like a whole new. The emphasis for a new product is really about getting them to the page for that product, which is done through email marketing and or Facebook traffic advertising. And you get them to the sales page or the video sales letter for that particular product. So that's where all the emphasis has gone for years. But then we decided about a year ago, we really need to have a platform that people land on that really shows everything that we're capable, that we have, everything in our database, but in a very attractive, like well-functioning, like eye candy kind of way. We're like, oh, wow, look at these guys. Look at this platform. This is great. Wow, I didn't know they made this too. That kind of experience. So we're going to have a redesigned website and e-commerce experience that's really going to be super nice, super attractive for people to see everything we're all about. But you could still, like I said, go on our website. We have offers for everybody. You said a 70-year-old woman who's interested we have multiple. I can name 5 things right now that she could find of ours that would be of interest to her. We have a mini band program called Firm and Tight Mini Bands, which is a great way to train. Super safe. Talking about band training. These are the little bands, the little thin bands that come in a little pack. And there's a bunch of workouts that come with these mini bands that come free with when you buy the workouts, you get the mini bands sent to your house. A great way, safe way for people to train who are novices, beginner level, and want to do it safely in their home. We have a stretching program called Metabolic Stretching, which is really cool. It's all body weight. There's no equipment whatsoever. And it's really geared towards either the beginner or the more advanced person, because the beginner flow is, I think, very reasonable for just about anybody up to 70 years old. And then there's a more advanced version of that where you can really kind of more hardcore stretching, if you will. So it's like using stretching and mobility movements to burn fat. And again, like I said, we have all of these other unlock your body part programs that are great. Unlock your hip flexors, unlock your glutes, unlock your spine, forward head posture fix. There's a lot of these other programs that, again, have a lot of which is body weight movements and flows that are very reasonable for that entry level or beginner level person who isn't looking for aggressive movements. They're looking for something that helps give them some relief, some kind of create some momentum in their life. And it can be done very quickly and very easily in 10 or 15 minutes at a time. And that's much of what our, those programs that we've been making the last 10 years, that's what they're all kind of centered around, is like easy to implement movement patterns that feel good, don't require a lot of equipment. And if they do require equipment, we provide that equipment, something that's pretty small and easy to use.
So would they get like a coach at all? Like some offer like an online coach or somebody who would touch base with you every now and again, say, hey, how you doing? How are these working for you?
So we have opportunity for people with memberships where inside the membership, there is a community that they can be part of. We have a community for critical bench specific stuff. And then anything that we've partnered with one of our close partners, Rick Casselge, who's an injury specialist. So anything that falls under the unlock your body category, they fall into a different community. And both of them have access to not necessarily directly to coaches, because we don't really do like one-on-one coaching, but to a group or a community where they can hopefully get some help but we have our customer support team, our help desk, where if they have specific questions for how to implement programming, and a lot of those come to me as kind of the overseer of our customer support desk. I'll get a lot of product specific questions, and I'm happy to answer those because for me, it's easy. I was part of all of these projects, so it's easy for me to go in and answer those directly. And I do on a weekly basis. I get lots of good questions like that.
Well, I think that's really good too, because the community part is, especially for women, especially older women, the community part is huge.
Yes.
Because every now and again, I've been periodically, since late last year, I've been taking on this senior health fitness. It's a program that's been piloted by the hospital here, the major hospital here, and they've worked with a gym. They worked with the major gym here, to have someone first volunteer to work with these. They were, I would say, women, because they were all women, and it was part of like an anti-dementia brain health sort of
Oh,
thing
wow.
here. So it was a really cool idea. And they asked around, hey, would some of you like to volunteer to do this? I was one of them. I just did it on a voluntary basis for it. Well, it was a big hit, the pilot. And so they got funding for it. So now they're continuing it on.
Wow.
And yeah, it's always, these women they always know each other. Like they always band together. They come for you for one-on-one 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But then, they always kind of like, once the next one's walking in, then they and the other one's walking out, they all know each other. It's like, hey, how you doing? That kind of thing here too. And then it's the same, well, a lot of the same people again and again and again. And the fact that there's a sense of camaraderie. The fact that they're all feeling like they're all swimming in the same water.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's a support system there too. I think is big. And I think it's a big part of the fitness atmosphere that is being left out of the conversation here too, because a lot of this is like this lone wolf kind of mentality.
That's right.
Where get in there and get yours,
No, results really come from that community approach where you have the accountability, you have the support system, that network. I mean, I'm part of like a Saturday morning men's group I've been part of for years and years. Men that, we get together and we do dinners and stuff, but every Saturday morning I know those guys are going to be on a call from 7 to 8. And it's a call I want to be part of. And it's no different than these women. There's actually, I will say, because I didn't mention our balance program, I created a balance program a few years ago called Neurobalance Therapy. And that's really catering to that over 65 segment of the population who are fearful of falling. So it is really a fall prevention program to help build up those stronger neural connections between our brain and our feet to get people to move better, very safely, very gentle. It's not even really an exercise program. It is a movement program designed to, help strengthen those neural pathways and get people to move with more confidence. And hopefully it's considered a life extension program, if you will, because once people start falling and getting hurt, life's never the same.
No, and that's great too, because that's a lot of what I do with these older women that I work with. Is just working on just being able to coordinate the movements between, like you said, the brain and the feet and the hands and everything else, and the grip strength, and all that good stuff there. Well, Chris, so we talked about a lot here. So what's in the future? Let's talk about what's in the future, in the foreseeable future for Critical Bench. You've been around 25 years, like I said earlier. In terms of online, that's a lifetime.
Yeah.
So what's the next 25 years going to look like?
That's a great question. I'll give you what's this year look like. Okay. I do know we have a brain supplement that we're going to be putting out there that'll kind of satisfy as its own front end because it's a supplement, but also it'll be paired in our neural balance therapy funnel. So it'll actually pair really nicely, obviously, with a balance program to take something that's, a supplement that's got really good ingredients, hand-picked ingredients that are all proven and known to help with brain function. And so that's really exciting. That's coming very soon. After we get this second version of Unlock Your Spine, it's really, the product's the same. It's just the way it's marketed. Once that's live here in the next few weeks, that'll be exciting. Then we have a few other ideas up our sleeve for later in the year. We want to maybe retool one other program of ours that we've had success with, almost like a 2.0 version of it, not taking away from the original one. The original one's fine. It's almost like, here's the original plus something, to almost like just a second version of it. And then I think we are such a content-oriented business. We're just going to continue to come up with ideas as our team grows and our marketing department grows, ways that we can come up with good solutions for problems that the average men and women are facing as we get older. So again, a lot of our content will continue to be servicing those men and women like on the plus side of 40. Because that's just where our mindset is right now. And honestly, those are the people investing in their health and wellness for the most part.
Yeah.
20-year-olds are spending money on programming and stuff, no doubt about it, but not like the boomers, not like the people that want to be able to move, as you said earlier in the podcast, move better on the floor with their grandkids and be part of their kids and grandkids' lives in a real way. We see the world so much better when we're up on our 2 feet. And so that's really what our aim is. And I don't see that changing in the near future. And so it's just it's an exciting time, and it has been for years. It's like the health and fitness is a multi-billion-dollar entity, and we're trying to be more on the preventative side of things. Like, how can we help people live that stronger life by design? Thus the name of the podcast, right? Strong by design. You design your life. You were designed, in our opinion, you were designed beautifully by our creator. And then you have to then take advantage of that every day when you wake up. It's like, how do I make a decision today? What are the choices I'm going to make today to live a life strong by design? Well, I'm going to walk more. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to read. I'm going to listen to podcasts. I'm going to try and be a better person in my community. All of those things. You don't get better in life sitting at home on your sofa, just doing nothing with yourself. You got to get out and move in the world, and that's being strong by design.
All right, I totally identify with that, and that was kind of the purpose of my own. My company, Renaissance Fitness. What does Renaissance mean? It means reborn, rebirth.
Yeah, that's right.
And hence the podcast here is Fitness Reborn. So it is starting from a different place. Doesn't matter where you are.
Right.
You're starting at 60, then you start at 60. I tell this, when I take on new clients and maybe they're older and they're not terribly enthusiastic. And I think they also, if they see someone who's considerably younger than they are, they get kind of worried, like, what is he going to do with me? I can't do very much. And I know that because they keep telling me again and again, because I heard you. I'm not here to hurt you.
That's right.
I am not here to hurt you. I understand you're afraid, but you got to kind of take a leap of faith here a little bit. I'm not going to do anything I know it's going to be detrimental to. Anyways, right. But that focus on longevity, I think, and prevention, I think, is really key right there too. Yeah. And you're right what you said earlier. The fact that I think that a lot of that is coming from the female focus, the female influence on the industry.
Yeah.
The fact that it's looking about a little further down the road than just where the next competition might be.
That's
or just
right.
Or even just a person who's 20 years old, they might be into fitness, but it doesn't mean the same thing as when you're 40.
That's right.
You're thinking about, okay, now I'm married, I've got kids, I want to be around for, this is officially midlife. Let's be honest about that. And the average lifespan is about 80, 84 these days.
Yep.
This is midlife. Well, welcome. But but that I think I commend you tremendously for that, because I think that is a very wise and a very spectacular direction to take the company in. And so we have a closing tradition on the podcast.
Okay.
All right. So nothing huge. So because we've been talking now for nearly an hour and a half now, and I like to have people just kind of like summarize, or if you could have people walk away with one thing and one thing only, if they could remember nothing else, what would you prefer they remember from this show?
Well, I have to start with our mantra here at Strong by Design. You're made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. And that's what we believe here at Critical Bench. And in order to, some people think that balance in life is a myth. Like, it's impossible to have to be good in all areas of your life at the same time. Mm-hmm. While that might be a true statement on its face, it doesn't mean that you're not constantly striving to be better in all phases or all areas of your life at the same time. It's just some areas might get more focus than others, right? So as maybe you realize your physical wellness, your physical life is kind of in the dumps, and you need to pour more energy and effort into that area. It doesn't mean that you're letting your mental, letting your spiritual, letting your emotional and all those other areas just fall away completely while you're focusing more on your physical. But actually, by doing more, placing more emphasis on the physical, you're actually probably strengthening those other areas at the same time. So what we find here is that the pursuit of perfection is a good pursuit. You're never going to arrive. None of us do. None of us are perfect. But we can all have that ambition, that drive, and just be striving to be better in all those areas of our life every day that we have that opportunity to do it. And in order to do it, it's, as what we've just recently said, is it takes a village, right? It takes a community. It takes connection to other people, because it's our relationships in life that really are the most meaningful. Okay. When people are laying around at the end of their life, I doubt they're thinking about all their possessions they've amassed. They're most likely thinking about, what impact did I have in the world on other people? And are those people still part of my life? Are they here supporting me as my life is coming to a close? And I think that's really what's important. That's meaning. And that's what we're going for here at Critical Bench.
Exactly. Kind of brings me back to what Denzel Washington said. Like, the Egyptians tried to take all their earthly possessions with them in death. All they got was robbed. True. People stealing their stuff after they were dead.
That's right.
So, there you go. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much. This has been a really glorious conversation. I've enjoyed this a lot. And every minute of it has been just a real joy. And I thank you for coming on. Thanks for asking to come on. I'm glad you reached out, and thank you for the great conversation here. Where can people reach out to you? I know they can go to criticalbench.com. Is there another way that they can kind of reach out to you or someone on your team if they want to know more? Yeah,
I would say two of the better places would be, if you're interested in podcasts on any platform that you listen, look up Strong by Design podcast. We're on all the platforms, and the show's doing extremely well. It's a wonderful show, really, for anybody, men and women, all ages. And we cover a lot of ground. As I was telling Sean before we started recording, we kind of talk a little bit about everything on the show, all areas of life. So look that up, and you can even look it up on other platforms, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. You can look up Strong by Design. And then certainly on YouTube, because we have such a presence there, it's a great way to create a bit of awareness to what we're doing here at Critical Bench. So if you go to YouTube and you type in Critical Bench, we have thousands of videos there, free resources to help you move better, feel better, some great follow-along workouts and exercise tutorials. And I would say that those are probably two of the best ways to get in touch or in tune with our stuff.
Yeah. And I've looked at some of the videos there, and they're real good stuff here. And the following is already pretty huge, 1 million followers. I mean, that's the envy of a lot of YouTubers. So you guys are in a good steed right there. Yeah. But again, Chris, and I'll put links and such, social media. I'll put the website and the podcast in the show notes. Great. So people can access them as they like it, just awesome. With one click. Great. But so thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for coming on.
Absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed it, Sean. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem, man. All right, everyone. This is the Fitness Reborn podcast. My name is Sean from Renaissance Fitness Personal Training, and I'll see you on the other side. Tune in next time. In the meantime, move forever. Peace.